Hi everybody, Andrew Smith here from We Speak Business, and in this video I'm going to be talking to you all about underpaid jobs. And this video is going to come in two parts. The first part is we're going to talk about what an underpaid job is, and I'm going to be sharing with you a personal story of mine that I think is really going to change the way you think about underpaid work. And in the second part of the video, we're going to take a look at some useful words and phrases that we can use to talk about and describe underpaid jobs. So firstly, let's start with looking at what is underpaid work, or what is an underpaid job. So we have two words here. We have underpaid and we have overpaid. And underpaid means that it is usually below the minimum wage. It's a salary that most of society would agree is not enough or not very much for the type of work that you are doing. Overpaid jobs or overpaid work are jobs or work that you receive a lot more money for that maybe might not be worth it. So a lot of people, for example, would say that a public school teacher is underpaid work because these teachers work very long hours and work very hard and have tremendous amounts of responsibility on their shoulders, but they don't really receive the best salary. An overpaid job, on the other hand, might be something like a footballer, right? Somebody kicking a ball up and down a field for 90 minutes and their salary is, millions and millions of dollars a year. So those are two examples of underpaid jobs and overpaid jobs. And throughout life, we will often have to do underpaid work in order for us to, gain some work experience, in order for us to enter the workforce and for us to make a little bit of money. And when I was 16, I got my first part-time job while I was studying at college, and I was a KP. Now, a KP is an acronym for kitchen porter, and a kitchen porter is somebody who washes dishes. So I got a job as a kitchen porter at a local restaurant in a holiday park down the road from me, and I worked there for about 2 to 3 years, and in all honesty, and I'm not lying now, it was one of the best jobs I ever had. Now, some of you might be thinking, Andrew, why was washing dishes such a great job for you? That sounds awful. I bet the money was awful. And I bet it was very stressful and dirty and just a horrible experience. And you're right to some degree, it was very stressful and it wasn't the cleanest job around. But the truth of the matter is that job taught me some of the most important, valuable lessons and skills that I still carry with me to this very day. And I'm going to talk to you right now about those skills and lessons I learned when I was working as a kitchen porter. And the first lesson I learned was really the power of being consistent. Because in work, when I was washing the dishes, sometimes we would have plates or bowls that would have a stain on them, and a stain is maybe a little bit of food that is stuck on the plate. And, sometimes we can give a plate or a bowl a simple wipe and a little bit of a scrub, and the stain will disappear and it's clean again. However, some plates or bowls will have tougher stains, and it requires a little bit more consistency and persistence and patience to get rid of that stain. And I ended up becoming obsessed with cleaning plates and bowls, so much so that I would actually go and find old plates and bowls the restaurant didn't even use anymore, determined to get these plates sparkling clean. And then I used that as a way to tell the company how I had saved them money, because we didn't have to keep spending money on new plates and bowls. So I was saving the company money. And this became an obsession of mine. I would do a lot of research. I would be looking into different cleaning methods. I even used a method of using Coca-Cola in pots and pans to get rid of those really heavy stains and that grease. And, I was very experimental. And over time, the chefs and the managers noticed this and they pulled me to one side. They sat me down and first they congratulated me for sticking at it for so long. because other kitchen porters that came before me would only last a week or two before they literally threw in the towel, which is an idiom that means to give up, and they would walk away and never return again. But it was different for me because I never gave up and I remained consistent, and it was my real job and duty to make sure that the customers had the cleanest plates so that the food would taste great and of course look presentable. So the first lesson I learned was the power of consistency and understanding that there are some stains that we need to try a little bit harder to get rid of. And it might take a little bit longer, but that's absolutely fine. That was part of the job. And the second lesson I learned, and this was probably the most important one, it was to never give up. Because I knew that if I scrubbed for long enough, and if I wiped the plate long enough, and if I scrubbed hard enough, I knew that eventually that stain would disappear and the plate would be clean again. And going back to what I said before about the previous kitchen porters, you know, there were some evenings in the restaurants that were extremely busy. It was very stressful. People were shouting, throwing things, screaming. The heat of a kitchen, if you've ever worked in a kitchen, you will know just how hot it can get, especially in the height of summer. Um, you know, it's enough pressure to really make your brain explode. It was physically and mentally demanding, but I had this thing, this fire inside me that told me that if I didn't give up in this job, I would never give up in any other job I would do in the future. And I was absolutely correct on that because my job right now is a business English teacher, and that's been pretty much my entire career. I've been teaching business English for 12 years now, and I've never given up. I've never thrown in the towel. No matter how tough or how difficult or stressful things have gotten for me, I've never given up. And when we think of underpaid jobs, you know, we often just think of it as a little bit of money, but underpaid work is so much more than that because it teaches us some of the most valuable and important life skills that we will take with us for the rest of our lives. And the thing is, underpaid jobs or doing an underpaid job is very much like learning a language because a language requires consistency, it requires patience, and it requires the determination and the ability to never throw in the towel and never give up. And if you have ever done an underpaid job before, then maybe you can spend a minute or two right now writing down some of the lessons that you think you've learned in that job and how they can apply to learning business English or learning a different language. So I really want to just home in on the point here that the lessons that we learn in, you know, underpaid work can be really useful in helping us achieve our goals when learning business English or a language or just being successful in our career. So I hope you found my short personal story interesting, and I hope it has changed the way you think a little bit about underpaid work. And right now I'm going to flip the screen around and I'm going to share with you some useful words and phrases that we can use to talk about and describe underpaid work. And I would write these down because in the future, if you are underpaid, or even if you are underpaid right now, you can use these words and phrases to express to your boss or manager how you feel about this and that you want a change. All right, so here we're going to take a look at some useful vocabulary for underpaid work. And we're going to look at 6 different words or phrases that we can use to talk about and describe work or jobs that typically pay very little money. And the first word we're going to look at is an adjective, undervalued. Now, the second part of this word is quite difficult to pronounce. Listen again. Undervalued. Undervalued. Undervalued means someone is not appreciated or valued highly enough. So we can use this to describe ourselves or other people, and we can say in an example sentence, public school teachers are really undervalued when you think about the work they do. So it's like we're saying public school teachers are not appreciated enough when you think about the work they do, right? They help train children to become what they want to become in life, whether that be a doctor, an engineer, an architect, a plumber, a chef. So undervalued. The next word we have is a verb, and it is a really good one, exploited. 3 syllables, stress on the second syllable. Exploited. Exploited. Exploited is the act of selfishly taking advantage of someone or a group of people in order to profit from them. So, in an example sentence, it might look something like this. I'm sick of being exploited by my boss. He expects me to work overtime, but doesn't pay me for my extra hours. So here, it's almost as though we're saying that my boss takes advantage of me by getting me to work overtime, but not paying me. He's profiting from me, right? So he's treating me unfairly. He's using me in a selfish way. I'm sick of being exploited by my boss. Now, the third word we're going to look at is the word fair pay. And this is a noun, so it's a thing. But fair pay means pay that is more than the minimum wage or a livable wage. Livable is an adjective, and it means something that's possible to live off, right? So in an example sentence, we might say, I think paramedics are entitled to fair pay. They keep people alive, after all. So here we use the word fair pay as something that we think people deserve, or, something we think people are entitled to. It's like we're saying that we think paramedics are entitled to earn more than the minimum wage or a livable wage. The fourth one we have is a phrase, and it is to take advantage of someone. And maybe you've heard this phrase before because it is very common. But if someone takes advantage of you, they treat you unfairly for their own benefit, especially when you are trying to be kind or to help them. So this phrase is actually very, very similar to the verb exploit, but it's used more in contexts when you are trying to be kind or help someone, but they still treat you unfairly. So as an example, we might say, I do so much of my boss's work and don't receive any compensation for it. I think he's taking advantage of me a bit. Or we could also say, I think he's exploiting me a bit, right? We can use these terms a lot of the time interchangeably. Now, the fifth phrase we have is a great one. We say back-breaking work. So back-breaking is an adjective and work is of course a noun. And back-breaking work means work that needs a lot of hard physical effort, right? So when we're doing it, it's almost as though our back has broken in two because we've worked to the point of exhaustion. So as an example, we could say, a farmer does back-breaking work every single day, so they ought to be paid fairly. So we can use this to describe people or employees that work very hard physically, and we can link that to underpaid work because unfortunately a lot of the time people who do backbreaking work are not paid fairly or are underpaid. And the final phrase we have for today is to put the hours in. And this is another really great one. But if you put the hours in, it means you are willing to work for the length of time necessary for some stated reason. And this is a very idiomatic expression and indicative of a native speaker. So we might say, I put all the hours in yet receive no remuneration for the work I do, right? So put the hours in means to work for, or it means you are willing to work for the length of time necessary, and usually it has some sort of specific stated reason. So here we have 6 phrases or words that we can use to talk about and describe underpaid work. We have undervalued, exploited, fair pay, to take advantage of someone, backbreaking work, and to put the hours in. So I hope you guys have all found this video really useful. Today we have not only learned English or business English vocabulary, but we've learned something a lot more important, and that is the true value of underpaid work and how we can look at underpaid work in a different way and really get more out of it. So if you would like to speak business English with me and other professional native speaking teachers every single day, and if you want to take your business English and conversation skills to the next level, then our business speaking program, We Speak Business Unlimited, gives you live speaking practice every single day with professional native teachers, where we talk and discuss a variety of business topics and business functions. To learn more about this exclusive speaking program, you can go to my website, www.wespeakbusiness.com/WSB, to learn more and sign up. So thank you very much for watching this video on underpaid work. I hope you found it useful, and I will see you in the next video.